Shalom Aleichem. In this week's Parsha, we're told Shoftim v'shotrim titen lecha b'chol sha'arecha, that we should have both judges and police officers in all of our cities and our Jewish communities in order so that there will be justice. And a shofet is the one who enacts justice, and at the same time you need the shoter, you need the police officer to make sure to implement that justice. Chassidic masters, and amongst them the Sfas Emes, highlights that this pasuk is not only a message about justice and making sure that our communities are safe and just, but it is also a message to us in our personal avodas Hashem. That shoftim and shotrim are two different types of times and two different types of experiences and two different types of kochos that a person has. On one hand, when we experience Torah and mitzvos, and we're living throughout our lives, and we're experiencing things in hashgacha pratis, things that happen to us, things that happen to our family, and we can understand why they're happening, or we understand why we need to do this mitzvah now, or why we shouldn't be involved in certain things. We have that, our brain, our shofet, right, that tells us this is the right thing to do. But at the same time, there are times in which we don't necessarily understand why something is like this or why something is like that. Why did this happen to me? And a person can struggle. And therefore, the Sfas Emes tells us that it's not good enough just to have a shofet, but we also have to have a shoter. We have to have a police officer to enforce, to make sure that even in times in which I'm struggling with my personal avodas Hashem, that I'm going to be able to get through, I'm going to be able to endure whatever question in emunah or whatever it is, that challenge that you're having. The Baal Shem Tov famously says as well that answering one of the most famous questions is, why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu need to put the mountain over Am Yisrael if they had already said Na'aseh v'nishma? They already were makabel. They accepted the Torah upon themselves. And the Baal Shem Tov explains ala derech hazeh in this way, that the message which HaKadosh Baruch Hu was saying was that even though that right now you're saying Na'aseh v'nishma, there will be a time in all of your lives in which Yiddishkeit and Torah and mitzvos, there are moments that are challenging. And that I'm taking the mountain and putting it over your head as if it's a shoter. That we don't really have a choice. And although we do have a choice, Am Yisrael has that koach within us, both the shofet and the shoter, that when things make sense to us and when things don't make sense to us, when it's easy for us and when it's hard for us, to be Mekayim Dvar Hashem. I wish us all a lot of hatzlacha in this month leading up to Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and to recognize, to come back to those lessons, to those messages, that even when things are difficult and even when things are tough, we need to have that inner shoter that could make sure that we implement our real ratzon and the ratzon of the shofet. Have a great Shabbos.
Good Shabbos, good Shabbos, good Shabbos.